YouTube, what is going on? We're back with another guide, and right now I want to go over my GOAT, the one, the only Danjin. I truly believe this is going to be my main throughout the whole game. They're my favorite character for a plethora of reasons, and so I'm going to be breaking down. I gotta get the game value on. I'm going to be breaking down the kit, the gameplay style, weapons, echoes, the whole shabam. I actually have her C6, but I haven't C6'd her yet. This is just going to be my first guide. I'm probably going to go a little bit more in-depth once she's fully built. But I wanted to show the capabilities that she can do, because at first glance, she is just a normal 4-star. But then when you sit down, you go over the kit, not only is she super strong, but she can fill the sub-DPS role as well in a few niche teams, which we'll get to. So let's go right over this. So first of all, how does Danjin work? She has her normal attacks. She has her resonance skill. Now, this is a lot of mumbo jumbo. We don't got to go through all that, and I'll show you the actual core gameplay in a minute. Her resonance skill will actually damage herself. So, for example, again, I've said this multiple times, she is like Genshin's version of...
What did he say?
She is Wuthering Waves' version of Hu Tao. Every time she does her resonance skill, she lowers her health. She can only go up to 10% of health. After that, it won't lower it anymore. And your Forte circuit right here is pretty simple. You can hold down the charge attack either at the halfway point or the full point. Bam. She heals, and she does a charge attack that restores her health and also a big chunk of damage. And again, the gameplay loop, you're trying to get her as close as possible. Now, the thing with Danjin, though, that I actually didn't know until recently when I actually sat down and read and did her trial, she does have a mechanic where she marks characters, but that's pretty much the basis. Her burst is really nothing special. It just does havoc damage. We'll go over it. I'll showcase that. But that's pretty much the basis of her kit. Now, her intro skill with unwavering determination, Danjin unleashes a strike dealing havoc damage. Nothing too crazy there, just the normal stuff. And then the outro skill, this is where she can be a sub DPS. The next character or the other characters on a nearby team gain 23% havoc damage deepen for 14 seconds until they are switched off field. I'm going to go over the teams later and what team this role could really be fulfilled in very well, which will include some spoilers. So if you don't want that, skip that portion of the video. I'm going to leave that to the end. But you can be the sub DPS. Now, before I showcase the actual gameplay, you want to level up these two nodes in the Forte circuit first. Go for these as soon as possible. I know they require the weekly bosses. You got today, and then tomorrow it resets, but try to get this. So the first one is damage of resonance skill Crimson Erosion triggered by dodge counter. Ruby Shades increased by 20%. Another big part of her kit is when she does a dodge, she gets even more damage bonus with that marking, which I'll show you after. Which is massive. And then the HP cost and stacks of Ruby is doubled. So you get more HP, so you don't die as often. I'll find a way to die because I'm trash, but whatever. And then this one's amazing. After casting the resonance skill, Sanguine Pulse, Danjin's heavy attack damage will be increased by 30% for 5 seconds. Now, what is Sanguine Pulse in the resonance skill? Let's look right here. It says use resonance skill after basic attack 3 to perform up to 3 consecutive dealings of havoc damage. So this is where the combos come into play. Now, for the Crimson Erosion, which is the marking, after basic attack 2, dodge counter, or intro skill, Vindication use resonance skills to perform up to 2 consecutive strikes dealing havoc damage. And when Crimson Erosion 2 hits a target, it will apply Incinerating Will. Incinerating Will is going to buff your damage. Danjin's damage dealt to targets marked by Incinerating Will be increased by 20%. To give you the simplest breakdown, do 2 normal attacks, 2 elemental skills, you have a marking. That gives you more damage. To proc the Sanguine's Pulse, do 3 normal attacks, 3 elemental skills, and then you're bam, good. And then you'll get even more damage with your heavy attack once you're done, which is perfect, because by the time you do X amount of skills, you will have to do that heavy attack to get, to reset, and that's going to give you even more damage. That is the streamlined version of her kit, as fast as I could possibly give you. Also, if you are in the talent screen, you can click this. But back to the talent priorities. So again, you're going to want to go for the Forte circuit to 2 nodes first. After that, I would recommend going Resonance Skill. Definitely want to level this up. Resonance Liberation, basic attack, and then the intro last. The intro is not that important. It's really kind of just there. And obviously, you want to get these nodes. It's going to give you havoc damage, attack damage, etc., etc. So let's get into the actual gameplay itself just to show you real quick how she actually functions. And then we'll cover weapons, echoes, etc. Basically, your basic attacks, 1, 2, 3, yada, yada, yada. I'm really here to show you how the marking looks. So I'm going to point out the marking. We'll zoom in on it in the video. Bam. So 1, 2, skill, skill. Now, there's that little flower there. It's literally just like Hu Tao. There's a little flower. Now, I do want to show you real quick what happens, what it looks like when it goes away. So I'm going to let this play out for a second. Now, obviously, the flowers fall, you no longer have it, right? Just 1, 2, and I'll reapply it. Bam, it's back on there. But so now that's for the buff. Now this is for the Sanguine Pulse. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam. And then that's the point when you would do your charge attack, when you unlock that other Liberance node, and bam. So hold attack and then basic attack. You know, these are just other part of the combos. Nothing too crazy there. And I'll show you the ult real quick just so you can see.
No mercy.
Ult's cool. It's just damage. The ult is just strictly damage. It's nothing special. It's fine. You know what I mean? I use it in times where I feel like I'm either about to miss a parry, or like if just to kind of slow down time for a second, if I have to regroup and think, okay, am I going to parry? Am I going to dodge? You know, because I am slow. But very simple stuff. Now let's look at weapons. Right now I have Commando of Conviction. So this, when your intro skill is released, increase attack by 15%, lasting for 15 seconds. This is very good. This is a solid weapon for her. It works very well. This one, Scale Slasher, I don't think is really that good. When resonant skill is released, restores concerto energy by 8. This effect can be triggered one time every 20 seconds. Now, if you're using her as a sub DPS, which we'll get to later, this could work, but I don't think this is ideal. I really think it's a waste. I really think Commando Conviction is good. The craftable weapon actually is pretty decent as well. If I can go there. Where are you? And I'm so sorry. So the craftable weapon, sword number 18. When Resonator's HP drops below 40%, increases heavy attack damage by 18% and restores HP by 5% upon dealing heavy attack damage. This effect can be triggered once every time. This seems to be very well. It has double attack, which is fine. She scales off of attack, so that's you know, normal basic stuff. I could see this working very, very well with her. Again, because the heavy attack, although it is the last portion of her rotation, so she's going to do skill, normal attack, or skill, and then 3 normal attacks, you still need the heavy attack at the end, and the whole point is the heavy attack is where you get the big buff. I mean, she's going to be below 40 HP a majority of the time, so an 18% damage increase for your heavy attack off your weapon is very nice. Also, the 5-star selector weapon, that is good as well. It gives crit rate, which is always great. So crit rate, storm resolution, increases energy regen by 12.8%. When resonant skill is released, increases attack by 6%, stacking up 2 times. I don't have the sword yet, so I can't physically test this, but I assume this is very good because the resonant skill doesn't have a cooldown, so you can immediately just stack up those 2 off rip. And then you'll have a 12% attack increase that lasts for 10 seconds. And again, crit rate's always good. So those are 3 swords I would mainly focus on if you're going for Danjin. Again, if you're going for the sub DPS, you go for that other option, but even then, I still don't think it's worth it. Sub DPS Danjin is not my favorite style. Before we get into sub DPS, because again, that does involve spoilers, let's go over the echoes. So my echoes are trash. I don't have anything very good right now. I don't even have, you know, but you're going to want to go with this set, the Sun Sinking Eclipse set. This is the Havoc damage set. It gives you the Havoc damage plus 10, and then Havoc damage 7.5% after releasing basic or heavy attack. This effect can stack up to 4 times, lasting 15 seconds. This is going to be their best in slot. Crownless as the main on field really works well. Transform into Crownless and attack them for Havoc damage. Increase current character's Havoc damage and resonant skill damage. So not only does Crownless do a bunch of damage, but giving you that extra Havoc damage and resonant skill damage helps a lot. So this would always be, in my mind, probably the best end slot on field. Maybe there's something different that I don't know about yet. But scrolling through these, I just find this one is going to be the best one from what I've seen. Substats you're going to want. Crit rate, crit damage is always a plus. Attack, resonant skill damage, heavy attack buffs, energy regen. You know, that would be really good. Resonance liberation damage is kind of you know what I mean? Again, she's not really used her ult in the most crazy way and whatnot. So basic things, I think basic things that you're probably going to want for most characters. And now sub DPS Danjin, again, for the 500th time, if you do not want story spoilers, now what are Danjin's best teams? You're gonna get no surprise from me right now. If we were to go through all the characters, not only that I have, but just in general, you know, we definitely want Verena on there. And then after that, you know, you can go Mortefi, so that way you have Mortefi's outro skill, which is going to give that 38% heavy attack damage. Please shut the fuck up. Mortefi's outro skill, if you time it right, it's going to give you 38% heavy attack damage for 14 seconds, which would be great for Danjin, so that way they can activate their you know, heavy strike. So before you do that heavy strike, if you know your Forte circuit's either halfway or full, and you have to do it maybe potentially early, or you're able to do it when it's full, swap to Mortefi, get his Concerto up, swap back, bam. Verena is good because for the buff. Now, obviously, Verena is a healer, and Danjin does more damage when she is dying. But I feel as if there are ways you can make these two work together because of how big her buffing is. But if you don't want to use Verena, you could use someone genuinely. You could use someone like Danjin, who's a shielder, and that might actually be a better option. This will give you the CC, and then after that, you know, you could CC with them. Also get the shield with Mortefi's outro skill and their ultimate. It can work with Danjin, so I think that's very good. Again, only thing with Danjin is her outro skill isn't the most effective for Danjin. 38% resonance liberation deepen for 14 seconds. Again, you're not really using her resonance liberation like that. But those would be probably the best teams that I could see. You could always run Tauchi. Again, I personally don't like Tauchi, but you could run Tauchi as your parrying machine. So if you wanted to do a Tauchi Danjin team and then you can plug in your third, whether it's Mortefi, Baiji, Verena, whoever you think would fit best for you. That works as well because, you know, she can be good. There is a skill level with Tauchi. I don't like her, and I don't think she's going to be good in the end game, but this is a viable team. Now, for the spoilers. For the sub DPS, Danjin. So normally, I actually just dropped a video going over the team comps. I know you want a main DPS, a support, and a healer, right? Danjin would be a sub DPS. Now, with this team I'm about to show, which will show story spoilers, so you don't want this, please leave, and I love you. Thank you for watching. Mwah. Danjin's role is actually going to change, and they're going to be a sub DPS because you can run the Havoc Rover. So if I swap over to this Havoc Rover real quick, who is a DPS, the Havoc Rover works very well with Danjin. Especially because of Danjin's outro. So the next character gains 23% Havoc damage deepen. Now, obviously, you know, Tauchi is Havoc, but she's not really a main DPS, but the Rover is 100%. So you could make Danjin a sub DPS for the Rover, make the Rover your main DPS, and throw, again, Verena here. You could throw Verena in here. You could throw Baiji. You could throw Jianyun, or you can keep Tauchi. You know what I mean? But this is it's possible. I don't recommend it. I think the playstyle is a little weird, at least for sub DPS Danjin. Now, when I run Havoc Rover, am I going to keep Danjin there? I don't know. If I do, I'm not going to change her build and not keep her at a DPS. I might just, you know, run Rover and Jianshin for the CC, or, you know, Verena. But, you know, I'd prefer using her as a DPS. So that is my Danjin guide as quickly as possible. I'm going to try to solo this whole game with her. So if you find me putting out a bunch of videos of me soloing a bunch of content with her, yeah, let me know what you think. I love you. Mwah. I'll see you in the next one.